All right. Well, it is officially noon, so I'm going to officially kick it off for our very first drop-in training. The topic of this in general is going to be resource sharing, but we don't have a set agenda. We don't have specific things we're going to be going over. Instead, what we'd like to offer you is the opportunity to ask questions related to the topic of resource sharing. Um, if you have something you're doing at your library related to it that you are excited to share that's been working really well, or maybe something that you could use a little bit of help refining, this is an open forum for any of that. We do have some things that we will certainly go over if conversation maybe doesn't start flowing immediately, but our hope is that we will be able um, to get the conversation really going between NC Cardinal staff and not just me explaining how to do things kind of training. So I am recording this, and once I have gotten it up on YouTube, I'll share that recording out for those who weren't able to be here. We are planning to continue to do drop-in trainings on a monthly basis. Most of the time they will be at noon on the third Thursday of the month. Occasionally we may adjust it to a different Thursday, but I'm going to try to keep them at noon on Thursdays just for consistency. We do have topics kind of set, but as we go through the year, as things come up, we may move topics around in sort of the mental schedule that I have and add new things as needs arise. But we do have a couple of topics already set, and you can find that schedule here on the splash page of your Evergreen login for the coming 3 months. And then if you click into the additional Evergreen training opportunities link here, that's going to take you into the knowledge book where you'll see a lot of different trainings that we have coming up. So, if you haven't yet registered for the Evergreen bibliographic reports webinar that's next week, you're welcome to do that from here. We've got some things coming up in August and September as well. And then you can get a list of the tentative plan for the monthly trainings. Generally speaking, I'll have definite things set for the 3 months just upcoming, and stuff after that may shift around a little bit. But for now, you can definitely count on August being reports and September being circulation. And for all of these, you can access it from the splash page in this link here. I'll also share the link on Basecamp every time, but this way, anybody who has a staff login of any sort will be able to get into it very easily. Beyond that, I'm going to open the floor up. If anybody has any questions that they'd like to get started, or if Benjamin or Will have anything they want to dive into.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a little bit of something. This is something that Samantha and I have been talking about for a little while. I originally got the idea, OCLC has kind of monthly office hours where they kind of have an opportunity for kind of come one, come all, come ask questions. And really, we're just trying to find a way to meet people at their point of need, be flexible. We have kind of an idea for a topic just to sort of give us a little bit of something to chew on if we have some things to talk about there, but we don't want to limit it to that. So, it's something that if you have questions about other things or, things you're interested in or, challenges that you face or that sort of thing, we're happy to get into other topics. As Samantha mentioned, this sheet here, this Google Doc is shared, and that's something that, we put out ahead of time so that people can ask questions, like next month if you're coming to this. If you've got a idea of something in the middle of the month and want to go look up where that sheet is at and go at it, then that'll give us something that we can prepare for. But, doesn't have to be. We may, if there's something that's kind of complex, it may be something that we sort of say, you know what, let's put a pin in that for now. Let's put that on the list and maybe we'll circle back to that while one of us scrambles to figure something out or look something up or something like that. Other kind of thing that might happen is depending on what kind of questions you raise, it may be something that really the best situation for addressing it is to put it into a ticket. And so, it may be something that we say, you know what, that's probably better served as a ticket. Maybe we can kind of get some basic information or talk about some basic elements of it in the session here, but kind of hold off and redirect that question to a ticket for us to be able to do the investigation we got to do or something like that. So it's just meant to be kind of a casual opportunity to kind of connect with everybody, to brainstorm and kind of ask questions and that sort of thing. I muted everybody at the beginning here just as everybody was kind of getting settled. So if you see down at the bottom of your screen, you should see mute, start or stop video, and some other things. So, we want to encourage this. This is meant to be a casual thing. This is meant to be just sort of like, hey, let's chat about stuff. So, if you want to do that, another thing, there is a way to raise your hand. Oh, yeah. So in the bottom bar as well, there is something where you can raise your hand, and that's a way to kind of have a little icon on your on the screen that we can see, oh, somebody's trying to get our attention. You have to then click it again to lower your hand. So if you're doing that, if we've got a bunch of different people who are interested in sort of asking a question or something like that, that can kind of help us figure out how to manage who's got the floor and that sort of thing. But you would have to unmute yourself, just so we're not hearing people's background stuff in the meantime, in between time. So that's kind of the big picture. Yeah, that's what we're thinking about today. I guess the other thing I'd mention is, in the chat, feel free to ask questions in the chat, and that might give us sort of an accumulation of things to talk about. So if there's something that you're interested in, that's another mechanism to kind of get your question in front of our eyeballs, and so that we can address what you're interested in. Yeah. So I guess are there? Yeah, I hear somebody's. Anybody have anything that they want to lead off with? One of the things that's we were chatting about as a team was some of the do's, the don'ts, and the best practices of resource sharing. Kind of a high level, we were thinking, as kind of a vague topic, we could talk about resource sharing related stuff. And so one of the things that we were talking about was the things that are pet peeves or things that are not good ideas or that sort of thing. So maybe to start things off, we can have Will go through some of the things that he was putting together from all of the various and sundry different conversations we've had on the resource sharing Basecamp group. So Will, do you want to share with the group what those top 10 don'ts are?
Sure, I'll link them in the chat too. I don't know if you want to bring that up on your screen, Samantha. So I probably could have come up with a list that was longer than just 10. And they're in no particular order because it would have been really hard to decide which was most important and which was least important. But I tried to narrow them down to what seemed to be like the most common issues we encounter with resource sharing. One is, do not tape, paperclip, or otherwise attach a damaged slip to an item. Instead, you should place the slip inside the item, like with a book, like you would a bookmark. You can place it inside the DVD or audiobook case. If it's absolutely necessary, you can use a rubber band to keep it with the item. If you have the time, some libraries will actually turn it into a kind of sleeve by printing out kind of like a longer version and then folding the top and bottom around the cover and attaching another sheet of paper to the back. And so you can kind of slide it on and off. Um, do not pack DVDs or audiobooks in with books without proper padding in protection. It is strongly recommended that you place them inside either smaller boxes within the larger box or in padded envelopes, or even just wrap them in bubble wrap. It might be tempting to just lay them on top of books in the box because you think, well, they're on top, so they should be fine there. But as many have discovered, when FedEx is carrying our boxes, what you think is the top may wind up being the bottom by the time you get it. And of course, the weight of the books is going to crush the DVDs and the audiobook cases. Do not send a single item at a time whenever possible. You should always try to hold on to it until you have other items to send along. Of course, this won't always be possible because you may get a request from a library that you just never send items to or from, and you don't want to hold on to it for a month or so, waiting to see if something else comes along. But for the most part, you should be able to do this for most of the libraries that you're resource sharing with without too much difficulty. Another important one is do not discard another library's item without first consulting the owning library. And kind of as an extension of that, because this is a very specific example we received once, is if the item is so damaged that you have to put it in a plastic bag because it's soaking wet with water, do not send it. Still contact the library to let them know. Most likely they're going to tell you to just go ahead and throw it out. But in other instances where an item is damaged, they may say, well, we want to inspect it first to see if it's really, if we can repair it, or we want to keep it, or to throw it out. Or they may just go ahead and tell you, it's okay, don't bother sending it back, just go and throw it out. As in the case with the book in the plastic bag, I can almost certainly say that the owning library would have told the other library to just throw it out instead of sending it back to them. Do not send a replacement item to another library without first consulting the owning library. We have a list in the knowledge books of what libraries prefer be done whenever one of their materials is damaged. A lot of them will accept a replacement item, but some don't, and would rather that you contact them first so that they can either speak with the patron, or they may just want to go ahead and order themselves a replacement copy. Do not use non-padded plastic bags that exceed the measurements of 18 inches along their longest side, 13 inches along their second longest side, and or 5 inches in height. And really, quite frankly, it's better to not use the non-padded plastic bags, period. But if you have them, you can use them as packing material in boxes. We only recently discovered that shipping out the non-padded plastic bags with those measurements incurs a not insignificant fee from FedEx. And so we're planning to no longer ship them out to libraries as they join Cardinal when we order their initial supplies. If you still have any of these left over from when you joined, we ask that you do not use them unless, as I mentioned, you use it for packing materials. Do not reuse boxes that are falling apart or otherwise so heavily damaged that they require excessive amounts of tape to be held together. And this kind of goes back to how FedEx handles our boxes. Sometimes, it is FedEx's fault, but other times there's not really much that they can even do because the box was in such a bad shape when they first received it that no matter how gently they handle it, it was going to fall apart. Do not leave old shipping labels on your packages. This is often the cause of address correction charges from FedEx or boxes being shipped to the wrong libraries. And so we recommend that ideally you should remove all of the old labels. Sometimes they may be stuck on there so hard that you can't remove them. So you can either mark them out with a black marker, and I mean completely mark them out, or take your current shipping label and cover the old shipping label with it so that it's hidden. There's no question as to which shipping label they scan. Another thing to consider is when you go to pull an item to send to another library, if it's in the kind of shape that you would not check it out to yourself or to one of your own patrons, don't send it. In fact, you may want to seriously consider just weeding it from your collection if you look at it and feel like you wouldn't check it out yourself or to your patrons. And finally, do not attempt to repair another library's damaged item. This mainly deals with books because in the case of DVDs and CDs, if they need to be cleaned, it is generally acceptable for you to go ahead and clean them if you have one of those disc cleaning machines. But we do recommend that you let the owning library know that you cleaned it either with a note or contacting them directly. We've had some instances where libraries were attempting to repair another library's books, and it did not go well, and it ended up causing more damage to the book than there was previously. And so that's the 10 that I was able to come up with. We've seen some suggestions in the yes, overpacking is another one. If you go over, as Benjamin noted, we get a very hefty fee from FedEx if we go over 50 pounds, but also even 40 pounds is just, it's pushing it because, you know, when you have to pick up those boxes and lift them and carry them, you know, just keep in mind that someone else is having to handle the box as well. And, you know, you may be able to lift a box like that, no problem, but it might not be so easy for others.
One of the things that Angie asked in the chat is in relation to heavy boxes, is it fiscally acceptable to send more than one box to a library rather than send out a box that's large and heavy? Yes, that's fine. Recently, we made changes in the way that the hold targeter works. And so by intention, we're trying to have it so that you're sending more stuff to libraries that are closer to you and less stuff that are to libraries at the other end of the state. And so that should result in more boxes that are fuller going to the libraries that are close by. You know, sometimes you'll still get a scenario where, you know, if you're Farmville, you've got to send something to Nantahala and there's, you know, one book or two books, you know, and, you know, we try to avoid, you know, maybe hold those back just a little bit to see if anything else comes up. But if you've got, you know, if you're Farmville and you're sending stuff to Johnson County and you've got a lot of things coming and going, yeah, it's fine to send more than one box in a day to that library. I think especially for some of the bigger library systems, you know, in regional areas, there's a lot more stuff kind of going back and forth between Buncombe and Henderson or, you know, something like that where there's, you know, big libraries that are close by each other. So yeah, that's definitely better than overstuffing. You know, I would try to get it close to 40 if you know you're going to send two boxes, you can split it half and half kind of thing. You know, boxes, just sending a box costs a certain amount of money. And then it's weight beyond what that base amount is. So if you're sending two boxes, you know, having two boxes, you know, equaling their weight or something like that is you know, it's a good solution.
So I was curious, kind of related to that. Is there sort of a list of the things that FedEx sort of charges extra for? So heavy boxes is one, and those big envelopes that Will was talking about is one. Are there other things that people need to kind of be aware of? And then maybe odd situations, but when they come up.
So the reason I kind of laughed when you asked that is because unfortunately it's not always easy to determine what it is that they're charging us for. Um, yes, as Nicole mentioned, boxes over a certain dimension incur a surcharge too, but that often is related to the weight as well. Um, and so like if you send a really large box that weighs very little, then they will actually take the cost from the dimensions of the box rather than the weight. So as like Benjamin said with a big picture book, there are a lot of children's books out there that are weird shapes and weird sizes, and you have to ship them pretty much however you can. So you may end up putting them in a large box, but if it's the only item you have to ship, it might weigh maybe 2 pounds or something. But because of the dimensions, there's a formula they use to kind of decide a weight for it based on the dimensions, and they will charge us based on the dimensions in that instance, even though it'll say this charge is for the weight.
Looks like Jane. Oh, never mind. You saw it.
Sorry, I was going to say FedEx does not charge for adding the relabel, but if they scan the wrong label and send it to the wrong library, we're incurring additional charges from having to ship it to the correct library from the incorrect one.
They also charge for address corrections. So if they can't make sense of something, or if I don't know exactly how, they're not really super clear with us why exactly they're charging for things. But if there is something where they deem it as an address correction, then they will charge us $14 for that or something like that.
So it looks like, oh, sorry, you saw it.
Yeah, is there any way we can block shipping those oversized picture books? How would we do that? So
we use the oversized shelving location.
We could, and then we could. The thing is, we would want them to be holdable locally, but not holdable. Kind of like what we have. The problem with our one model of doing it, let's say, is like how we do our genealogy and reference books, where they aren't holdable at all. And therefore they can't resource share, even though they are a book. So we'd have to figure out how to keep those from being targetable by shelving location, by circ mod, something like that. But yeah, I guess it would be something too that we would need everybody to kind of go through and like indicate which ones, they would have to do something cataloging wise to the materials in their collection to sort of, do whatever designation we had to kind of make those behave differently, because all this would be based on just kind of like the data in the MARC record or the shelving location or whatever that case.
I think we would also need to determine too what constitutes the oversized children's books, because different people might have different ideas about what is oversized and what isn't, because even standard children's books can be rather large. So
a couple of suggestions. Joy is saying you could change it to a kit modifier, which is not resource sharing eligible, but is eligible to be locally. Um, are they already on a bib record with the regular book? That's a good question, Jamie.
Shouldn't be. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Oh, they're listed as giant books. So Nicole, where is that? Is that something in the MARC record? Then have a different ISBN traditionally. Okay.
If you have a record in mind or a title in mind, we can take a look at that record real quick and see what's going on with them.
I see them mostly placed on hold by the patron, and they may not know exactly what they're getting. Yeah. And it may be, awkward when they get it. I found it in the needs human list a lot. Interesting. Yeah, if anybody happens to find a TCN of one, large Polar Express books, okay. Because, those are going to cost more money, and presumably they're at higher risk for damage, too. If they're awkwardly shaped, who knows if that is more likely to get dinged up in shipment.
It's good to know that the needs humans list is working. So,
what other thoughts, questions, experiences? What kind of things can we spend our time thinking about, looking at, showing? We are happy to get into whatever is useful for you all. One of the things I was thinking about is, where do you get your boxes from for resource sharing? Do you have good ideas for places that you can get recycled boxes that are good? I've heard, things like local liquor store, the grocery store, some of that kind of stuff. Samantha, looks like we're getting some TCNs here in the chat. Local auto parts store. Oh yeah, as long as it doesn't have motor oil on it. Baker and Taylor boxes, that makes sense, yeah. All right, so what are we seeing on this record that would help us? Oh, edition, big book edition, okay. We see 300 subfield C is 44 centimeters. We might be able to look at
650 has a oversized books tag.
So that's a little bit, 44 centimeters is about 17 inches. Handy tape measure. Oh, 655 as well, yeah. So yeah, Baker and Taylor, Amazon boxes. We use Ingram boxes and Beg staff for their Amazon boxes. That's smart. And other boxes they want to recycle. That's a good way to encourage recycling in your community. Here we go. Is there a standard time limit to keep those libraries holds that have only 1 or 2 books before sending them? I think we don't have a standard time limit. It's the balance between customer service and getting people the books that they're looking for, and sort of the financial aspect. I think a week is reasonable. Maybe even a little bit beyond that, but I think then it's already going to take another 2 days or so to get to the hub, and maybe another day or 2 to get to the branch. So, I think we want to avoid delaying too long, just because we know that there's a human being waiting on the other end for that. Yeah, Jamie, what you're saying, I'm on a once a week shipment and will only hold a book for 2 weeks. If that is for request, I send it. Um, one of the things that we had, I think we had it in the resource sharing discussion, Basecamp discussion group, was how to indicate whether something is going home just to transit home or whether it's going for a hold request. If things are just going to go back home, I think those definitely can sit on ice longer than if a human being's waiting on the other end. So I think the ones that are for humans, it's more time sensitive than it is just something that doesn't have a hold request and is just going home to go home. But I think, yeah, I think, letting things accumulate for a week or so. I think one of the things that will make that more effective is making sure that you have like a date on the check-in slip, or I've heard people use magnets or that sort of thing, sort of to indicate when they last sent out materials to a specific library. I think with the changes to the hold targeter, there's going to be more scenarios where, from the Farmville perspective, you're going to have less stuff going to Amy, you're going to have less stuff going to Fontana and Nantahala and Appalachian Regional Library. So, um, that'll be more of a common scenario, hopefully, than maybe it was in the past where things just sort of randomly went wherever. Aaron also had another suggested one. Was that this one?
Yeah, I pulled this one up, and what I'm seeing between this one and the one that I think Joy shared is that there's not a lot of, I mean, both of them have indicators of the fact that it's a big book, but they're not necessarily in the same fields, and there's not a set, like, controlled tag for it that I'm seeing. This one says oversized hardback in the 020 field, whereas the other one said giant book in like the 250 or something. Um, so, this might be something that the cataloging committee wants to take a look at if there's a way to ensure that these aren't being merged with regular sized or something like that. But I'm not sure how they do that if there's not a consensus on how they're cataloged.
Given
Yeah,
what we're seeing there with the number of O2Os on that, I would bet that this is we don't have any standards right now to not merge those if the content is the same. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's, 75% of those are not big books, or 80%, and then there's a couple of big books on there too. One of the questions I had would be interested to know is have you seen, since like the beginning of the year, have you seen that you are sending a lot more things to a few libraries that are nearby and less things to libraries that are far away? Have you seen in your experience, like a change in where you're sending your boxes to? Interesting. Aaron says, oh, yes. Angie says, absolutely. Catherine, yes, absolutely. Lisa. What kind of impact does that have on you? How is that pros and cons? I mean, different workflows, different sort of things. Corey saying, yep, you used to ship to App Regional twice a week, and now we ship 4 times. A lot less to Forsyth and Cumberland. This is Jamie from Amy. How does that impact, how does it impact your picking at all, or is it really just more the shipping and that sort of thing? Most is to Forsyth. This is Joy from Davidson. It's a lot less to Forsyth and Buncombe from Sampson, which is, kind of over towards coast a little bit more. Corey says shelf space has become problematic. It's like Jenga. Okay. I'd be interested to know is it that you're seeing varying, or do you know like which shelves you need to make bigger and which to make smaller? Um, Catherine from Forsyth, a lot to Davidson and Northwestern, not enough space for all the books. Evens out. Shipping is considerably more. We had to switch our shelves around to accommodate those larger libraries. Need to get shelves reorganized and shipping schedule changed. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're only 6 months in, basically 7 months in at this point with this, so it's wow, interesting. I mean, the good news about that is that should be having a cost impact. If we are really not sending things across the state, the ideal is that means we're having, more boxes that are 40 pounds and less 2 pounds, 2 pounds, 2 pounds, 2 pounds, 2 pounds, 2 pounds kind of thing. Um, and if it's a neighbor, then presumably you should be able to get things to them. I mean, I think FedEx was relatively quick, but it should be a little bit quicker to get things shipped close by. Um, my concern is there's still more shipping in Amy, which incur a bigger surcharge. Yeah, there's a couple of different ways that anytime we send a package to Amy or Madison, those are considered remote. And so it just costs us more. But there's also, there's these tiers. Basically, it's how far the branch is or the shipping hub is from a FedEx sorting facility. And so some of them are delivery, there's like normal, there's delivery area surcharge, and there's delivery area surcharge extended. Um, 1/3 of our libraries have no extra thing, and 2/3 have some sort of um, $3 or $4 per package delivery area surcharge. And so it's one of those things that, you know, we're it's kind of the cost of doing business. Um, we don't want to bias things towards the libraries that don't have charges, because then we're sort of unequally distributing the work and the who's kind of pulling their books and stuff. So but it definitely does have different costs to go to different places. We pulled our number one destination, Davidson, from the shelves and have it put directly on a cart. It fills up. Wow. Yep. You want to meet at the border? Hey, it's crossed my mind before in terms of like, could we ship them to somebody else and, have them drop it off at Amy? But we wouldn't do that to you. 200 pounds to Buncombe costs less than 10 pounds to Madison. Wow. Kind of an off-topic question, but the Newton hub for FedEx is closing. Do you think that will impact resource sharing in our area? Let me educate myself on where Newton is. Maps.google.com. Okay, so Newton is in Catawba County. Okay. Yeah, if that is in Catawba, I wonder, I don't know where the other ones are in the area, but yeah, as Jamie's saying, it might not have an impact because there's, so much going on in that area. Um, that's, no, it may be because of the coverage they have in Mecklenburg County and other areas nearby. Um, Joy is asking, would it help to code libraries as subregions instead of what is directly closest, like Davidson, Forsyth, Northwestern, Davie, Iredell, Stanley together? That was one of the things that we were kind of looking at as we were approaching how to figure this out. Um, you know, Cardinal or Evergreen has sort of a tiered structure of how different library systems are related to each other. And so you have like Cardinal, and then you have like the system, and then you have the branches. So even if you only have a single library, you have a system level and you have a branch level. So one of the things we were thinking about doing was sort of injecting another layer between those that was like a region or something. And it kind of was a little bit unwieldy. And it also, it kind of, those decisions as to who you group with who has potential big impacts on, behavior for people. And so we didn't really find it to be the most feasible or easy one to do. What we ended up just doing was like, how far is the next hub from where you are? But yeah, I like the idea. Something I can share with you all. Happy, let's keep the conversation going. Happy to, if you got questions, let's put them in the chat and let's talk about it. One of the things that I just wanted to share with you all, and specifically on the topic of resource sharing, is that we are we're looking at putting together a request for proposal, basically asking for bids for companies to have like a courier service. We did this sort of test with UPS to see if we could find something more affordable. And what we're going to do is basically put out a request for a proposal to courier companies and consider that and what the cost implications of that would be. That's what I think Georgia's doing. That's what Missouri is doing. That's what Indiana is doing. So there's pros and cons of that. And, we don't want to do something that is a degradation of service. We want to make sure that we're doing something that meets everybody's needs and doesn't slow things down or get frustrating for other reasons. So that's probably something we're going to try to put out in the next this year, before this fiscal year. So it's like before June of next year. So it's kind of a big open question. We don't really know how that will work out, what will happen with that. But, just trying to consider, are there ways that we can be good stewards of the resources and the money that we have in our budget? And is there a way, that's better suits our needs than FedEx does? I know there's a lot of concerns with those of you who experience UPS before FedEx. FedEx doesn't always live up to the standards that we expect. Sometimes some of the drivers are great. Sometimes some of the drivers are not. Yes, Angie, can you explain the new possible text system for notification of holds, etc.? Okay, so we've been having a little bit of a problem. The way that we send out text messages to patrons, so this is generally when they have a hold that's ready to be picked up, or there's another big scenario that we use a lot. Maybe it's when things are coming due, but basically we send out texts, and the traditional way that this is done is that you have the person's phone number as the beginning of an email, and then you have and then depending on who their cell phone carrier is, you have some specific, address that you're sending this to. So, 1-800-555-1234 at Verizon send it to the patron.com. and that takes that email and turns it into a text message. And so the problem with that is that once you know what um, uh, the email address, the end of it is, you can try 1000000, send an email. 100001, send an email. 10002, send an email. So it's a problem with spam where people are just flooding people's text messages. So there's an alternative that rather than using the email to text message, that it is a company called Unique Management who has a service called MessageBee. And they actually will get a SIM card, and basically will send text messages as a phone to your patrons. So every library would have their own from phone number, and then we would basically send information from Cardinal over to them and say, okay, this account needs to have this message sent to them, that sort of thing. There would then be, according to as my understanding with the vendor, every library would be able to log into their dashboard for MessageBee, and they would be able to see this message bounced. I think it includes this person replied, that kind of thing. Right now we just see all this stuff come back to us as emails, but this would give us more analytics and such on the delivery rate, whether phone numbers are bad, that kind of thing. So essentially that's what we're looking at. So it's going to take some work for us to get this all set up and configured. The part of the challenge is that it would be kind of another place to interact with. Maybe that's one of the things we could have a link on a splash page, everybody's splash page or something, to logging into MessageBee or something, so that you can go and check on what things bounce back, what phone numbers are not good or something like that. But it's going to take some project work to sort of get this all set up for everybody. And then we would have it where all of the hold notification SMSs and all that kind of stuff would go through that route. We would probably limit the kinds of things that we send by SMS, because we pay per text message that's sent, and it's what we're setting up is already costing us tens of thousands of dollars, and so we would probably limit it to like hold notifications and some of the other, there's like two or three big ones that we send right now. So that's kind of the plan. We're still working with Mobius right now to figure out the implementation schedule and such. We finally got our contract signed late last week, early this week. I guess it'd be late last week. And so it's something that's coming. Llewellyn's on vacation, but so he would be a key member of the implementation team and stuff. So we we don't have a schedule yet, but that is where we're at with that. And we think that should be a much more effective process than what we're using right now. This is what CWMRs in Massachusetts, Noble in Massachusetts, and a number of our other peers, they're also using this service, and that was really one of the big selling points for us, that it makes it a lot easier for us to implement. So that's what's up with that. Other thoughts, questions, things that you're interested in? Samantha, I was thinking maybe pulling up Henderson's splash page just to show people, if they don't know that it's a thing, that it's a thing.
Sure. So last time I tried to do this, it didn't work. Let me try again. All right. So I'm just going to add in. Henderson, and there's not a dot, right?
There is a dot.
There is a dot.
Yeah.
Like last time I tried it with the dot and it didn't work. And so I was thinking maybe the problem is the dot.
And you might want to
Probably
alter
need to
your
be at a Henderson
workstation.
workstation.
Yeah. They've done, Henderson has done a lot of work to customize their splash page. So I just thought that this would be, we had some conversation earlier this week about, um, the adding the alert for these training sessions and stuff. So thought it would be good just to show you what is possible with a little bit of work. And we are happy to.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, there we go.
First it gave me the basic one and then it like refreshed. Maybe that's what happened last time too, and I just wasn't patient.
So this is a customizable screen as of, I think, the last upgrade. And so you can see here, they've got their pull lists. They've got a way to quick link to the recording in-house use, the item status, search the catalog, search for patron by name. All of these kind of short or quick, even purchase orders, load mark order records. So I think Johnston is another one that has some customizations and such. So um, or not. I'm going to
Yeah,
just send.
they've got this transit list and hopeless holds thing over here. So maybe that's specific reports they've created or something.
Oh yeah, and they remove the general reports link.
Mm-hmm. I think Onslow might as well.
That sounds right. So this is something that is possible. So if you're interested in setting up something like this, feel free to send in a ticket and we can um, walk you through the process and such.
Yeah, and I will be doing a SLAM training probably in early December where I'll talk about this a little bit. And if there's enough interest, I may do a training just on this sometime in the spring. We'll see how excited people get by it when I bring it up at the SLAM training. No, it looks like Onslow does not. There's somebody on the East Coast that does, but
Maybe Carteret or something. Other things, are there things that you that frustrate you about working with Evergreen that we might be able to shed some insight on, or other ways to do things? One of the things I've been working on a bit too much lately is going through and cleaning up some of the manga collection. I've been kind of working on trying to split out, the best practices that we have are to put the individual volumes of a manga onto their own bib records. And so I've been going through and learning a lot about splitting those things up into different holding records and or call number records, and then moving those call number records over to the right bib and that kind of stuff. So that's one of the things that's been my learning curve lately. I pretty much am done with that. I've got about 30 more bibs I need to work on that have a bunch of stuff. So yeah, getting there. Oh, also one of the other things just to mention, I'm going to put out a announcement. I've been holding off because I was trying to get a Zoom link for us, but I guess we'll just do it in WebEx. We're going to have the annual meeting virtually this year, so it's going to be basically just kind of us presenting our annual report. We're going to talk a little bit about some funding and budgeting things. So that is coming up on the 29th of August. We'll do that at about 10 o'clock in the morning. So I will send out something on the general discussion list and try to give everybody a broad heads up on that. we'll fill you in on all the fun and exciting stuff that we've been working on, and sort of some annual stats and all that kind of stuff. So since it's virtual, it's easy for everybody to hang out and join us if they wish to do so. Looks like we've got about 5 minutes left. Any other things come up? I'm new. Can I get on that list? Yes, you can. Samantha, you want to pull up the submit a request form there on the left-hand side?
So from the knowledge books, if you click on submit a request, this is your general ticketing request form. But if you scroll all the way to the bottom of it, you have the options for the mailing lists. And so you would just fill out your name, email, and library, and then you can choose which teams you'd like to be on. General discussion is probably just a good one to be on in general, because that's where we'll send announcements, as well as, if there are general questions, general discussion, it's going to happen there. And then, of course, the resource sharing list is right here. So you just fill out the ones that you want and send it in, and one of us will add you to Basecamp, and you'll be all set.
Another thing that comes to mind while we're all here together, just an update on our migrations. This year we are migrating Robeson and Brunswick County to NC Cardinal. We are in the midst of the Robeson program of migration right now, and they are going live in September. And then Brunswick County will be going live in November or December, I believe. I forget which one, but we're both getting them done before December. Okay. But we are moving forward with those two projects and looking forward to welcoming them into Cardinal. So yet to come. Well, I see we're approaching near the end of the hour. This is our experiment. This is our template. We really wanted to have an opportunity to just kind of be able to connect with everybody in sort of a casual chance to talk about different things and different subjects and topics and stuff. I would encourage everybody, if you're dealing with something in the weeks ahead and you're like, you know what, it would be interesting to learn a little bit more about that or understand that better or something like that. Bring it, add it to the Google Doc, or bring it to the next session. We're happy to do screen shares and kind of walk through processes and that sort of thing. So we've got a couple of different topics that are lined up in the months ahead, but that doesn't, we don't have to stick to that topic. We can be flexible and stuff. So that's really the goal of what we're trying to do, is just offer another channel to be able to connect with everybody and hopefully find a way to cover things that are of use to people, that sort of thing. Last minute heads up, ARL is doing a renovation starting in late October through January. We'll be shipping and receiving, but it might be a tick slower than normal. Yep. I think somebody else, Will said just this, somebody else said they had some new staff members and they were having some, I think it was Carteret that mentioned they were having some slowness right now too. So awesome. Thanks, Nicole. And while on the topic of resource sharing, thank you everybody for the work you're doing. I realize that it is an effort to be picking these books, to be packing these books, to be being careful and mindful, and all of the work that goes on with this. It's something that is above and beyond all the things that you have maybe done traditionally, and it's really exciting when a new library system finds out about all of the things that are possible, the 7.9 million items that are suddenly available on their doorstep for their patrons. Sometimes we have things like the whole bunch of holds all put in at the same time for a certain book, and it gets backed up for a little bit, but it's like there's 201 options to get that book from other libraries, and eventually things sort of settle down and stuff. And I appreciate the work that people put into, um, being stewards of other people's resources and helping with, trying to protect books and getting things into people's hands and all the work that that takes. So just want to say, for those of you who are tasked with helping out with that, we really do appreciate you all helping to make this resource sharing experiment possible. This is really cool that we have the opportunity to kind of share these things and really, provide for the patrons in all of these libraries. So, yeah.
Well, it looks like it's 1 o'clock. So I want to thank everyone for being here, for having great questions, and just for participating and making this first drop-in, I think, a success. So we will be doing another one next month. We're going to be looking at reports. But like Benjamin said, if you've got other questions, bring them to that as well. And I hope to see you there.